Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Spirit and Soul Podcast. I am your host, Tiffany Cohen, and we have one of our favorites here at Spirit and Soul. We have Gabby Bryson, formerly Gabby Farah.
The license came in the mail today,
Yes.
so hey, it's official.
And I love whenever there is a Spirit and Soul teacher on because it's always like, hey!
Yeah. We weren't all just hanging out for an hour downstairs.
Exactly.
No. Surprised to see you here.
Surprise!
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. Okay, we can't help ourselves.
So this is what happens when we get together with Spirit and Soul.
Just nutty.
It really
Absolutely nutty.
Because this is the love, the love that we have for each other, and just been growing so much, all of us together, and we're just
vibing together all the time.
Vibe.
We just vibe. We are family.
So this episode, and as you can see, Gabby, if you don't know who Gabby is one of our teachers here at Spirit and Soul. She's the OG.
OG.
Okay? She's the OG. Gabby teaches Reiki at Spirit and Soul. She also performs Reiki healings, and she does so many things, manifesting work, and just there's Akashic records. I mean, there's so much depth to the magic that Gabby brings, that you bring to Spirit and Soul. And today we really want to have a big focus on Reiki because there is such a deep need for healing in everybody's spiritual journey. And I think that it's something that if you're new to this spiritual journey, maybe you're recognizing now that it's like the healing is necessary. And where do we start with that? And how do we, number one, start to heal ourselves, go on this journey, but also if you're called, how to help heal others as you start really moving through your own stuff.
Yeah.
So, Gabby.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk to everybody a little bit about, how you got on this journey, what you do here at Spirit and Soul, but how you got here on this journey with Reiki.
Sure. Let me talk a little bit about first what I do at Spirit and Soul. So I am a Reiki master teacher, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I do here at Spirit and Soul, and it kind of ties in and marries to everything else that I do. I feel like I always have that Reiki component that comes through in my teaching. So maybe you've taken one of my classes and you received Reiki in a group healing in that sense. Maybe you came to our meditations on the beach this summer and you received Reiki then. But I feel like Reiki is such a huge part of my identity because it is my soul's purpose. And I'm going to share a little bit about that journey that I had with discovering Reiki on my soul's journey. But no matter what I do, I find that everything always comes back to Reiki because it's something that I'm so in love with, and what it does for others. So not necessarily me as a healer being able to give Reiki, but just the way that I watch Reiki transform people's lives, the way that it's transformed my life. I'm actually going to get a little bit emotional because it's Pisces season and I'm a Pisces moon. So if I cry at all, please excuse me, but I love Reiki so much, and I wouldn't have so many wonderful things in my life if it wasn't for Reiki. When I even think about manifesting my husband Rich, I met him because of being a Reiki healer. So it's just Reiki has brought so many wonderful things into my life. Reiki brought me to Spirit and Soul. It's opened so many doors for me, and I think I've attuned at this point over 100 Reiki healers through Spirit and Soul. And just to see the way that it has transformed the lives of friends, of clients, of students, that is one of the greatest gifts I have ever received. It's just to see Reiki do so many things for others as it has done for me. So I discovered Reiki in 2019. It's just so funny, the things that are meant to serve us, find us, and these, they seem like random ways, but they're not so random at all. It really is divine timing from the universe. So I was going through a period of time where I was living in a mindset of lack, and sorry if maybe you've heard some components of this story before on other platforms, but I really did live in a sense of lack for a very long period. Most of my early to mid 20s, my young adulthood. And I'm 33 now. I look 22. I am 33 now, so I did live out all my 20s in a state of lack mindset. And I was very fortunate that, God, universe, brought people into my life that saw my potential with, being a spiritual being, and like helped crack me open. And they taught me about manifestation and positive affirmations. My therapist, even though she had been my therapist for 10 years, she always told me, like, I really feel like you're going to benefit from meditation. I really feel like you're going to benefit from meditation. And it wasn't until like 2019 when I started actually practicing it. I was like, holy shit, Janet was right. Like, Janet, you didn't lie to me. Like, the therapist was right. And I started like hearing about Reiki randomly. People would just ask me. Like, I'd be like hanging out with like friends, and someone would be like, Gab, you ever done Reiki? I was like, no, what's that? And people would describe it as like acupuncture for the soul, which I think is a perfect way to describe it to someone who's like, what is Reiki? Acupuncture for the soul is a perfect way to describe it. So Reiki is a hands-on. We do it hands-off as well. We can do it through time, space, and distance, but it's usually known as a hands-on energy healing modality where we can rebalance and, shift the energy in the body. So our body, as you know, is comprised of the chakra system. We have our root chakra, our sacral chakra, our solar plexus, our heart chakra, our throat chakra, our third eye, and our crown. And what happens is over time, because we're humans and we go through life and we get stressed out, the energies in our body can become imbalanced. When you're like hanging out with like a not so group or like great group, where you like walk into a room and you're like, the vibes are off, and then you kind of feel like icky afterwards. You're like, ooh, like what vibe did I catch? Well, that was like your chakra system getting disrupted. And that's when Reiki can come into play. It can really help balance us out. So people were randomly asking me about Reiki, and I was like, no, I don't know what this is, but this is weird that it keeps coming up. At the time, I was living in Astoria, and I would ride the subway like quite frequently to like go to the bookstore, go to gym classes, and I started seeing like Reiki cards like placed into the window or on the seats, like Reiki business cards, always different ones. And I was like, okay, this Reiki thing is talking to me. And at the time I decided I really wanted a crystal. And I had the intention of going to buy like rose quartz or amethyst, the starter crystals, the gateway crystals. And I walked into it wasn't even like a crystal shop. It was just like a gift shop with like good vibes in Astoria. And I was like, oh, they definitely have crystals there. And they did. And I saw fluorite. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's calling me. So I just buy it and I go home and I look up like the meaning of fluorite. And it's like the soul's purpose. And I was like, oh, okay. And after that, I like got catapulted into Reiki.
Oh my
So,
God, I love it.
Like literally catapulted. So my sister and I we're very close. I know you relate because your sisters are your best friends too. And so this was like the final straw in Reiki. My sister comes home one day and she's like, Gabby, have you ever been to Reiki? And I was like, enough. Like, I must go to Reiki. And she was like, yeah, my friend Kitty, who now works for Spirit and Soul, she's like, my friend Kitty like keeps talking about Reiki and how like much I would benefit from it. I was like, okay, like you go and then I'll go. So I made my sister be like,
you go first.
You go first. The little sister is always the test bunny, right? Okay,
no,
yeah.
I'm usually the test.
No, well, for our parents, we're the test bunny, right? That's another episode. We'll talk about older sister trauma. So he goes like, Christina, go. You go get Reiki. She comes back home and she just goes, you need to go. I was like, okay, I'll go. And the second I walked into this healer space, I just felt like I am so meant to be here. And the first words she said to me were, you're like me. You're meant to do this too, and you already know it. And that's what I was like, dropping F-moms. I was like, what? Oh my gosh. So after that first Reiki healing, I just received so much clarity. We cut cords with like a lot of, I was holding on to like so much emotional baggage that I just like didn't know like how to get rid of. So this Reiki healer that I went to, she showed me how to cut cords. She taught me so much about forgiveness. She balanced the chakras in my body. And after that, I felt like my third eye was so open. Like I knew I was intuitive, but I didn't really know what to do with that intuition. And I had so much clarity after that first Reiki session that I kept going back. So I kept going back on a monthly basis. And between like that, the meditation and journaling practice that I already had, going to therapy regularly, I felt just like so balanced and so at peace and trusted so much that was going on in my life that shortly after that, I had then reached out to one of those friends, one of the first people that was like, have you ever heard about Reiki? Because she had just started going for Reiki. And I asked her, I was like, yo, you're a Reiki healer. Is she a Reiki master? Can she teach me? And she was like, yes, she is a Reiki master. She loves to teach others about Reiki. So that's how I met my Reiki master, Joanne Romanelli, who is just so wonderful, and I love her so much. And so I connected with Joanne, and Joanne and I became really close, like really, really fast. And she teaches Reiki. Obviously, I teach Reiki like pretty much exactly the same way. But she was just like, yes, you're meant to be a Reiki healer. And she's like, I'm not going to like tell you what to do or when you can or can't do it, but your soul's going to tell you. And it was just so crazy. So I got attuned to Reiki level 1 on, I remember everything, March 8th, 2020. And I went home and I ordered a massage table off of Amazon. I started calling up all my friends and I was like, hey, who's coming over for their free Reiki session? I just want to practice Reiki on everybody. I want everyone to feel good. I had like booked out Reiki sessions for like the next week. Well, on March 15th, the world shut down. And no one could see anybody. We were all in quarantine. So my Reiki master, she had told me, she was like, you know, I know you technically aren't supposed to do distance healings till Reiki level 2. She's like, but energy is energy. If people are asking you for Reiki, give it to them because you're making that connection. There is that intention. Mm-hmm. So I started doing distance healings with my Reiki level 1 attunement throughout the pandemic. And I wasn't charging anybody. I was just doing this for free out of like, you know, just my passion and love for how Reiki made me feel. And I wanted to share that with other people. And it was just so wonderful to bring such a like a calming, grounding energy into my friends and family's lives during what was such a difficult time. And they actually started referring me to other friends of theirs. And that's how I started building like my clientele. So then by August, I was going to reach out to my Reiki master, and she contacted me and she was like, you ready for level 2? And I was like, how'd you know? And she's like, I just knew. Which is what we do. As right now, as a Reiki master, like I totally sent, because I totally text previous clients and I'm like, hey, when you come in a master, and they're like, how'd you know I was thinking about it? I'm like, you just know these things. Mm-hmm. Once you go all the way and you like work with all these people, you develop these connections, these beautiful energetic cords with these people. They become part of your soul pod. Yeah. And so it was just so funny. Every time I felt the calling for like the next step, Joanne would call me and just be like, hey, when are we doing master? Hey, when are we doing master teacher? Because we had that connection. And now I have that connection with my students, which is so really cool to see. It's unbelievable. So yeah, so that's how I got started. And I just love watching other people like go on this journey. So maybe you're listening and you're just like, well, how do I know, right?
Yeah.
If you feel a calling for something bigger, for me, what this came up as, and like this is actually what I've been seeing with a lot of my one-on-one Reiki clients lately, is anxiety. Anxiety is, I don't want to even call it like a red flag. Like anxiety is a white flag. It's a signal that your soul, your spiritual, your ethereal body is calling you to do something so much bigger than you're human. That's what it is. Anxiety is just this shift being like, okay, something's got to change. Because Anxiety can absolutely be situational. I mean, I'm a person with, I still, like, even as a Reiki master and someone who has worked with my anxiety and now I have like a good relationship with my anxiety, I still identify as like someone with high functioning anxiety. But now I have this whole wheelhouse, this whole arsenal of tools that I can use to work through my anxiety and come back to this like equilibrium, balanced state because I've learned how to answer the call of my soul's purpose. So my anxiety was like the first flag, like, hey, something needs to change. Like, I felt anxious because I was an intuitive being. So maybe if like anxiety, depression is coming up for you, that's because something in your right is just like not flowing. Something is not making sense. Maybe you're holding on to something that you're no longer meant to carry. So maybe this is like, okay, maybe I do need to go like get that physical Reiki energy healing, but also are you being called to step into your soul's purpose? And maybe your soul's purpose is not Reiki. That's okay. There's so many different forms of light work that all of us do here at Spirit and Soul, right? We do Akashic record readings, we do spinal, we do IET. And I mean, I've been trained in like how many of these things, but for me, it always comes back to Reiki because that's my soul's purpose. But if you feel like you're on the brink of starting to understand, like, what is your soul's purpose, I fully believe Reiki level 1 is a perfect stepping stone for getting into that.
Agreed. Agreed. I mean, I think it's such a beautiful story, Gabby. So, like, let's rewind for a second. But, like, your story is so beautiful because you were listening. Like, you were picking up the breadcrumbs and, like, okay, what is this? Why does this keep coming up? Why does that keep coming up? Right? Like, and you followed where a lot of people, and I think that's where, like, high anxiety may come in too. It's like a lot of people just kind of push it to the side or, like, they notice it and they're like, yeah, whatever, you know? And it's like, there's a part in the back that's like, listen,
right.
but they're just part of their, you know, on the go lifestyle or whatever. We don't actually pick up the breadcrumbs and start to follow them, but you did. And where did she follow them? Right into a crystal shop.
Right into some fluorite.
Right into some fluorite, which I love.
We love it.
So fluorite is the stone of your life's path. So of course, Gabby's now magnetized because number one, she's also an energetic being and she's listening to the energy that's calling her forward. So not only was Reiki calling her forward, but that crystal, that specific crystal was calling you forward. Like, soul's path, honey, let's do this.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you can stop for a minute in your busy life, and I get that you're busy, and I get that we're rushing.
So get that.
And you're like rushing from thing to thing, but being able to stop for a moment and understand the world around you, I think, is one of the most important things that you can start doing to build awareness about how the universe is, you know, trying to speak to you. Your angels are speaking to you, or your soul is speaking to you, whatever it is, whoever is speaking to you, so that you can start to listen. Yeah. So Gabby listened, and she was able now to start living out a soul mission and to understand what one of her soul missions is in this lifetime, which is an incredible thing to do, because I'm sure that there was a part of you that felt a little bit off before you found Reiki. Like something just wasn't fitting, and then you find it, and it's like, boom.
It was literally like, actually like a year to that date that I became a Reiki healer, where like everything shifted and fell into place. Like, I remember March 2019 being like, this can't stay. My life can't stay like this anymore. I am so sick of feeling this way. I'm sick of lack. I'm sick of jealousy. I am sick of putting myself down. And that was when, like, if you look, like, also, like, you got to give yourself grace on the journey. Like, that was a whole year to come to being like, I'm done. I hit rock bottom. I bottomed out. There's nothing wrong with a rock bottom. Sometimes you need to hit rock bottom in order to get back up.
Yep.
All right. So March 2019, that was like my ultimate rock bottom. And then I started following the breadcrumbs. And then the Reiki breadcrumbs started like, what's that? What's that? Why do people keep bringing this up? Until March 2020, when I actually took that step and I made that investment in myself and I became a Reiki level 1 healer.
And now look at you, right? Now you're sending over 100 healers out into the world and counting, you know. It's just, it's incredible what happens when me and my ear just started ringing.
Oh my God.
As I said that.
It's weird too, because it's like those were Pisces seasons, and now we're entering Pisces season. So like, what we're coming on 2024, like now 4 years of this, and like I hear the ringing.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah. So if you're at home, so let's talk a little bit about the anxiety portion.
Yeah.
I think that plays into a lot of different things. I've actually heard that when anxiety is a marker for you also not listening to yourself.
Intuition, yourself.
Yes. And also, if you're feeling it like almost like on a severe level, that it can actually be like spirit knocking. Because imagine if I always describe that to people, if somebody was knocking at your door nonstop, wouldn't that feel like anxious inside?
Yes, absolutely.
So I feel like that's like if you're a medium, like anything like that, like if your mediumship abilities are like calling to you and like spirits just knocking.
Hello.
Yeah, like if you're suffering with severe anxiety, I always say to people, do you think you could be a medium? And most people will be like, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, but if it's a level of anxiety, like Gabby was like living with it almost every single day, would you have called it severe, or would you have just called it there, like present?
I mean, I would have called it severe anxiety. I was having anxiety attacks on a regular basis.
Okay.
And I mean, I can't tell you the last time I had a very severe anxiety attack. Now that I've just fully accepted like who I am and what my soul's mission is.
So interesting. So it's even coming up, not even just for mediumship, but for any type of like spirit, universe, angelic energy trying to get your attention.
And I wouldn't even, I mean, I've also like questioned myself, like, am I a medium? And I think I could go, and I think we all have that ability to go into that space. I remember actually it was September 2019. I'm like laying in bed, like now I've been getting Reiki regularly, and I'm laying in bed and I'm on Google like, am I a medium?
Am I a medium?
Am I a medium?
If you're asking the question, the answer is yes.
And like Google had this like top 20 signs that you might be a medium, and I remember being like, check. But it wasn't just mediumship. It was really like intuitive gifts, and Reiki really helped like open that up for me, because it is an intuitive practice. You have to be in tune with the energy of the body, of the soul. So yes, you are going to receive a lot of intuitive downloads. So I always say, like, if anyone's like, I feel like I'm intuitive and I don't know what to do with it, I'm like, come to Reiki, because it cracks you open.
Yeah, and I always say to people too, when they want to learn about energy, about working with energy, not like whether they want to be a healer or feel the call to be a healer, it's just if you want to understand energy, you have to understand also what is not your own energy or human energy. And I think that it's important to, when you get attuned to something like Reiki, or I always point people to Reiki 1. Always. I always say, go see Gabby, get Reiki level 1 attuned. Because right there, even if you don't want to do anything with Reiki, you don't want to heal other people, it's number 1 going to get you to understand what is other energy. What is that flowing to and through me that is different from my own energetic field? And I think right there, and I've had so many of my clients come back to me and say, now I get what you're saying. There is a different energy, and I can now start distinguishing between what's my energy, what's other people's energy, what is Reiki energy, and it opens them up in a way that they never had before.
Yes.
You know, so, and then now you have this beautiful modality that you can use for yourself, even if you just wanted to end there.
Yes. And it's like you are learning to like trust your gut and your intuition, like learning to feel what like that universal life energy is moving through you. That really, like, people are always like, how do you know to trust your gut? I always say, like, well, the higher self, the intuitive self, the gut, like that comes through as feelings of love. If it's fear-based, it's your ego. If it's love-based, like that's how you know it's coming from like a higher power, right? Once like I learned like Reiki energy, it's like, oh, you can just easily more discern like what is fear versus what is love. You know what feels right in your body versus what doesn't. And the more you're working with that energy, the more you can trust it. It's like going to the gym and like exercising a muscle, like that act of choosing love over fear every day, and like now getting more and more in tune with how to work with your intuition.
I'm with you here. I love this because it's such a working with your own intuition for people. It feels like they don't know which way to go. And I love your description of like, well, I don't know, like, what is my inner voice? Well, if it's coming from a place of love, which now you know, Reiki, you can feel that energy. You can so much more easily distinguish between that fearful ego and yelling loud.
Like, that's like the, well, what if it doesn't work out? Like, that's the energy of the ego. Like, the what if? And like, the ego, like, don't hold a grudge against the ego. The ego's just trying to protect you.
Yeah.
It really is. But, like, does the ego really have your best interest at heart? No. Not at all.
Yeah.
The ego just wants to keep you safe.
Yeah.
But also, your higher self is never going to let you fail or get hurt. You know?
Absolutely. So for Reiki level 1, that's more like, would you say that's more self, or you can heal others as well?
Yeah, so some people do teach like Reiki level 1 as like, no, you can't heal others. I don't teach it that way. I say like with Reiki level 1, you can absolutely do hands-on healing, but you don't like, your practice really, really deepens in Reiki level 2. Like I would say like if you want to be a practitioner, you have to do Reiki level 2. Agreed. Yes, like Reiki level 1, you can definitely like do hands-on healing on others. You can practice, get a feel of that energy, maybe start to see what you want. Like if you are going towards becoming a Reiki practitioner, start to see what a session looks like for you. Is it going to be 60 minutes? Is it going to be 90 minutes? Are you doing Oracle? Are you teaching them meditation, journaling? Like that's a really good time to like figure out like what your flow is going to be. But if you are going to set up a Reiki business, Reiki level 2 is a must, because that's when you learn distance healing. That's how you learn to send Reiki over time and space. You learn the Reiki symbols. Like there's all these different frequencies of Reiki. So you got to think of Reiki as like a radio dial. And with each level, so we have level 1, which is self-healing and hands-on healing on others. Reiki level 2, which is understanding the 3 main symbols of Reiki, sending Reiki over time, space, and distance. Then we have Reiki level 3, which is master level. There's all various degrees of Reiki. Some people will call that advanced Reiki training. I was taught Reiki level 3 is Reiki master. And then there's Reiki level 4, which is Reiki master teacher. And that is the final level in teaching others how to do Reiki. And I've had Reiki level 4 people that are like, I don't really want to teach anybody, but I just love Reiki so much and I feel the calling to it. And that's when you learn like everything that there is to learn about Reiki.
That was me.
Yeah.
So I am a Reiki master teacher. I have never attuned one person.
Oh my gosh,
never.
One?
No,
oh my god,
not a one, except for the practice that I did.
Yeah, the practice one that you did.
and that was it. And Christina is my Reiki master.
Oh, wonderful!
And Christina is like, she's always on me. Like, you gotta attune somebody.
You gotta attune
like,
someone.
I don't know. I don't want to.
You, me, and Christina can all just sit in a little trifecta and just attune each other to our frequencies.
Yeah,
and that's what we should do.
But yeah, so it's all about how you want to use what you're working with. Right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you want to use this energy? Do you want to just use it for yourself and just continue to grow? And I feel like it is a misconception that if you do go on, or if you even just get attuned to Reiki, that, you have to use it on other people. And it's like, you don't, but we're going to encourage it if you're feeling like it, but if it's something that you're just like, I need this for me, then, you do it.
And that's beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But also, because Reiki, and what I find, like, I use Reiki every single day. I use it all throughout my day, every day, for different little things. Like, I always talk about, I told you this, like how I take EMF out of my coffee with Reiki.
Because you put it in the microwave, you gotta remove the EMF from it.
Yeah, because I cannot finish 1 cup of coffee without it
I'm
going
the
in
same
3
way,
times
though.
in the
I'm the same way. I Reiki everything. I Reiki everything that I eat, everything that I prepare. I Reiki my house often.
Hell yeah.
I Reiki the dog.
Absolutely.
I like how I use Reiki as an adjective too. Like a verb.
Yeah.
Reiki's a verb. I Reiki that.
Verb. Yeah, I Reiki this.
I Reiki that. Did you Reiki the room?
Yeah.
Reiki. We're just Reikiing all over the place.
That's amazing.
I I'm having a real idea right now.
Be on the lookout for the next reel.
I'm getting ideas.
No, I Reiki everything. Like I really do. I bless my food and like think about Reiki, like giving Reiki to something as like a blessing. Mm-hmm. So if you like to like bless your food or you say like a little prayer before you eat, adding in, and it can take like
a second.
Yeah, just to like put a little sign over it, put the intention of clearing the food, of gratitude towards the food, with that beautiful, you know, universal life force energy flowing through you, and then eat your nice little whatever you're eating, or drink your coffee with no
You're
eating
Reiki.
and you're using
that universal life energy right into you.
I clear and cleanse everything all the time.
I clear crystals with it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, there are so many different uses for Reiki besides just Reiki on the body. And I think that when you can start to like kind of look outside of what you think Reiki is or what you think how it should be used, then start seeing that you can seriously use it anywhere.
Yes.
Anywhere.
And you can use it in your own way. Like when I teach Reiki, I'm like, okay, this is what the manual says. This might be what I'm saying. Please do what works for you, because all it comes back to at the end of the day is intention.
Yeah. Where intention goes, energy flows.
And that's Reiki. Reiki is an innate wisdom. You can never do Reiki wrong, because Reiki has that innate wisdom to go where the energy needs to flow.
Yeah. So this is really something that if you're feeling the calling to become a healer, whether it's a healer for yourself or a healer for others, you know, we use the term healer loosely, just, you know, it's you're holding space for other people's healing.
That's actually what I wanted to say. That was like the thing on the tip of my tongue. Like, I may be like a Reiki healer, but I don't think of myself as healing other people. I think of myself as like being a guide for others facilitating self-healing.
Absolutely. So you know what, let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that there is, like, when we say, oh, I'm a Reiki healer, and it's more of just like a title, right? Because how else are you going to describe it? But we know in our hearts that we are not the healer, that you are actually the healer, but we're holding space for you to heal. And listen, there are, and let's be real with it also, is that people hold frequencies differently. People have the capacity to hold a higher level frequency than other people. So you may have all Reiki healers, right? But everybody is in their own energetic frequency through their own healing journey is going to hold space differently. So you may feel differently when you receive Reiki from one person than you receive with Reiki from another, right? Yeah. So just understand that, like, if you have experienced Reiki and you're like, well, it's not the same. It's not going to be the same with each person, even though it's coming from the same source. It's also flowing to and through someone's
different energetic being.
Yeah, and they have the capacity to hold it really, really high, or not, because they're not there yet, right? Yeah. So, but you're still receiving such a beautiful healing. Yes. You're receiving exactly what you need in that moment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One other thing just popped into my mind: integrity with going to get any type of healing. Yes. No one should ever ask you to take your clothes off. Well, let's just do a little disclaimer here. Nobody should ever be asking you to take your clothes off.
I'm like laughing, but it's true. We've heard of this before.
Yeah, it's terrible what people try to get away with. So if anybody ever says, like, okay, strip down, this is not a massage.
No, this is a massage. You should not be getting on a table naked. No, not at all.
No. So if anybody's ever asking you to do that, just get your stuff and go.
When you say no,
don't
good.
Feel bad. Don't feel bad. Just go.
Call the Better Business Bureau
and go. So just a little disclaimer there. If you ever feel uncomfortable with anything, that may be your sign that move it along.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask people too, like, oh, who was your Reiki master? Where did you get attuned? How long have you been doing Reiki for? No one should ever be getting a Reiki attunement through, like, I don't want to say, like, we do virtual Reiki trainings, but, like, it shouldn't ever be, like, an online thing that, like, someone clicks through at, like, a self-paced study. You need to work with a Reiki master. We can do attunements virtually, but it should never be, like, a self-paced, like, online
course.
Yeah. Nothing like that.
Exactly. That's a really, really good point. And I feel like what I've seen is price gouging.
Yes.
Like, I had somebody come in and they were like, oh, I think it was like, I want to say something crazy like $5,000.
Yes.
And I was like, what?
No.
But for like
for
Reiki level 1 and 2.
No.
And I was like, I almost fainted on the floor. I'm like, run quickly.
I think I almost got attuned for level. This was before I found my Reiki master. My friend lives in Florida, and we want to like do Reiki level 1 and 2 together. And we were looking at doing like a weekend thing with her, and it was like some random like Reiki person we found wanted to charge like $1,200 for Reiki level 1 and 2 in one weekend. I was like, what? I'm like no BS when it comes to training Reiki. I know we price it fairly here.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know it off the top, but you're never spending more than like a few $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so these are just like little tips for you, you know, but you have safety here at Spirit and Soul. You have safety here with Gabby with those things. And we're always, you know, keeping an eye out on everything and kind of keeping our finger on the pulse of what we hear, what's going on around us, because if there's something that feels out of alignment, out of integrity, we are going to be very vocal about it, because we hate to hear people kind of get taken for a ride without the best intentions. And we always have the best intentions and the highest of integrity here at Spirit and Soul.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a little side note.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I feel like we always talk about like integrity and we're like, oh my God, did you hear so and so? Like they said they experienced this on Reiki healing, and I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, because we hear some horror stories about what people have experienced, and like that should never be the case. It's supposed to be healing.
Yes,
you're supposed to feel held. In that space.
Yes, exactly. So, so if you're feeling that calling towards Reiki, follow it, okay? And you have a home here at Spirit and Soul. Gabby has just the biggest heart for Reiki, and she holds just the most incredible. Like, she just gave me a healing the other day. By the way, can we just talk about that for a minute?
That was wild.
Cracked through so much stuff and it continued. The healing continued into like shadow work, you know, over the past couple of weeks, and it was just, oh my gosh, like really cracked me open.
Did you know the fun thing? So the difference between, like, no shade to Reiki level 2 healers, because I was once one, and I have a lot of practitioners that are Reiki level 2 healers. I love you all. Yeah. But when you receive Reiki from a Reiki master, you receive the effects 48 hours longer.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No, I did not.
I forgot about that piece of information when I was reviewing my Reiki manual the other day. I was like, hot dog, I forgot that. I was like, oh my God, I forgot that little tidbit. So when you receive Reiki from a Reiki master, the effects last even longer. And I felt that even when I received Reiki from like a Reiki level 2 healer, like you feel the effect because energy just went through the body, and now your body has to process like everything that's coming up to catch up to your energetic body. So that's normal, like no matter what, to keep feeling the effects and really want to dive into the shadow work that follows it, or like really tap into that manifesting energy, whatever you're feeling after that Reiki healing. But yeah, that's a little fun fact. You feel it longer after you receive it from a Reiki master.
So can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
The difference between shadow, like why would shadow come up versus why would like a manifesting energy kind of come up for somebody, or a mix of both? Like,
okay, so are you ready for my hot take on this?
Yes.
Okay. You can't have one without the other. You can't have one without the other. Shadow work is manifesting. Manifesting is shadow work. They work together. You can't create more of what you desire until you get to the why am I being blocked? How can I make space? Why is this coming up for me? Why is this a cycle that I can't break through? One doesn't happen without the other. So maybe after a Reiki session, honestly, I think both are going to come up. It's just going to be like, where was your body like prior to the Reiki session, and like, where are you now? So maybe you were doing a lot of shadow work like leading up to your Reiki healing, and then that Reiki healing kind of just like, that was like the last missing piece of like getting that like blockage out of you, and now you feel free, lighter. Okay, now I can move into like this manifesting component that I didn't really feel ready to lean into yet. Or maybe you're manifesting prior to your Reiki session. You're like, why can't I break through? And then you get this Reiki healing and a memory comes up and you're like, what the heck was that memory? I've been pushing that aside for years. Oh, I'm holding on to something from this situation, from, my childhood, being a teenager, and I need to forgive and let go. And then you're able to start making that space. You start doing the shadow work around that for a couple of weeks until finally, I have clarity and I know what that was blocking me from, and now I feel ready to manifest what I want.
Well, this is exactly what happened to me. Is I was really stuck in I knew that there was a block, and I do this work for other people.
It happens. Telling you about me at the moon circle.
Yeah, no, this is why I always say coaches are so important, and having that guide for yourself is so important because you can't see your blind spots. And yeah, I can do Reiki on myself, but Gabby's going to receive the information differently than I'm going to receive it, or I'm going to, discern something differently, and she's just receiving it in all openness, where you're not, right? You're putting it through a lens. You don't have that lens with somebody else. So Gabby was like, sacral chakra, blockage. What's happening here? I'm like, I'm not sure, but I feel it also. And from then, it kind of just snowballed into, I finally got to the root of it after months. And it took a Reiki session with Gabby to kind of crack that open and start me down that process.
That's so interesting too, that I gave you Reiki and it was your sacral chakra, and you gave me spinal and it was my sacral chakra too.
Yeah.
And that I also have been having this snowball effect that came to a climax last night. I was like, I had my big aha moment literally a week after you did energetics on me.
Yeah.
So this is what happens. This is the ride, everybody.
Yeah, this is the ride when you actually allow yourself to receive healing and to go on that healing journey and just be open, right? Think people come in and I always say this too, because I do Reiki healings, but I always actually right now I give anybody that's coming through, I'm like, Gabby, you take it because I want you guys to have it. You know what I mean? Here.
But this spinal energy also, that feels good for you right
now.
That's where you're at.
That's where I'm at with the spine. I'm more leaning into the spinal energetics energy, and that's that. So I'm like, okay, you guys take the Reiki clients. But I forget what I was going to say about Reiki. But when I would be giving Reiki healing, you also get a healing yourself, and I feel like you're mirroring each other as you're getting. It's like what's coming up for you is also breaking apart what's coming up for me.
Well, I see that a lot with my clients. So the thing, when you become a Reiki healer, you're going to notice that the clients you attract, they're either mirroring something that you're going through, and you're able, because you're an empath, you're able to easily pick up on that and help give them advice, or they're past versions of yourself. I often have clients that are going through something I already went through, and that really helps me to give them a little bit more insight. And I actually had a thought about one more thing I wanted to say about Reiki. I can't tell you how many times, and this is not a bad thing, I can understand where people are coming from with this. People come in and they'll be like, oh, well, I don't want to tell you because I want you to read me. And it's not a guessing game. It's not a aha, I got you. What's my grandmother saying about me? If you want that, go to a medium. I said, I don't advertise myself as a medium. I am an intuitive. Sometimes it might be oh, I feel a grandma on your maternal side. That very well does come up for me in healings, all the time. But am I channeling Nana? No, I'm not channeling Nana from the other side, because I don't want to do that. So I have had people be like, well, I don't want to tell you anything because I want you to tell me. And to me, that tells me they're closed off. They are, as Chris Harrison would say on The Bachelor, not here for the right reason. So what are you looking to facilitate that self-healing? And that's okay. Maybe you did want to go see a medium. In that sense, go see a medium, have a mediumship reading. That's why we have all these different avenues of healing to give you what you need. If you want like more clarity on like a past cycle and how it's playing into your future self, go get an Akashic record reading done. If you want something that's like a little bit more predictive, book a reading. Call Frank. Call Erica. Call Erica. You want to know what archangel to work with? Like, call Erica. You like. I'm not going to give you an astrology reading. Call Marissa.
Right.
So Reiki is not meant to be this thing where we're gonna, read you and tell you something, and we're like, hope it resonates with them. Like, yes, I am gonna say things that I'm like, take it if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. But this is all about the energy in your body. I'm gonna be like, I might be like, I feel a blockage in your heart. Where is that coming from? Because your guides might not be telling me where that's coming from, but they might need me to just be like, you need to unblock what's in your heart because you've blinded yourself to that.
Yeah, or maybe your guides need you to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like
I said, I'm not the healer. I'm not the healer.
Yeah.
I'm holding space. You're the healer.
Yeah. Christina has said to me all the time, like she does this to me all the time. Well, I guess my guides are doing it to me all the time through Christina. And she's like, yeah, they're telling me I can't tell you this, but you got to know about that. And I'm like, what? Why? Why are you doing this to me?
I find that also most often happens with like people we love. Like if we're doing energy work on like people that we have like a very strong relationship with, because it's like obviously like we have a bias. So the guides are like, oh, I'm not going to tell you that because you love them.
Yeah.
Too hard, too fiercely. Yeah. Like if I give like Rich Reiki, he's like, what'd they say? I'm like, they literally wouldn't talk to me. Yeah. You just need to work on that solar plexus, sir. Yeah.
Yep.
All the time. They will filter based on the relationships.
This is what I was going to say before and then I forgot. Like, people, if you're coming in for Reiki, you know what, I'm going to say here at Spirit and Soul, if you're coming in for Reiki with Gabby, you're coming in for Reiki here, like, I don't want to hear, I'm coming in just to relax. I just want to relax. That's not what we're doing.
You might feel relaxed for like 5 minutes and then
listen, but I want you to come here with the intention of healing. Because if you're just coming here to relax, like you could go get a massage. You know what I mean? Like go get a massage to relax. Yeah. Come here for the deeper healing. Yeah. Come here because you're being pulled to do it and not because you want to relax, because
think of relaxation as like a side effect in that moment. Yes. Once I put you on the table, I put the crystals on you, but get the cuddly blanket on you. Like that's a side effect of the healing work, because once you leave, you've facilitated so much deep healing that you're going to feel the work come up after you leave this space. That I really play like no part in. That's your journey. Yeah, I'm here to be a guide. You can message me. You can email me. Hey, Gabby, this came up. I don't understand why this is happening. And I'm going to like, go with the flow, baby.
Yeah.
But I'm here to hold space for you as we facilitate deeper healing on your own healing journey.
Yeah. And I think that when you come in saying, I am coming in to relax, I think you're actually putting up a block. Because,
I agree with that.
Yeah, yes. Because I feel like you don't want to cry. Or you don't want to feel like, because you're like, I just wanted to come here and relax. Because I get like that too when I go for like massages. I'm like, please stop talking to me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just want to relax, you know?
Oh my God, that's the worst.
But if you're saying, I just want to relax, and your body really wants to cry, or I just want to relax, but your body really wants, or like there's memories coming up that feel a little uncomfortable for you, then you're going to be like, I just wanted to relax. And it's like, no, you came
to do
the work, and that's what we always encourage of you, because if you don't do the work, then you can't manifest your best life, you can't see your blocks, you can't really live in that lighter state, I guess.
Yeah. And the journey's never done.
The journey is never done.
The journey's never done. You will overcome one thing, and then it's like, what's next?
Yep. And that's good. That means you're ascending.
Yeah.
Or let's just go here for a second too, is that there are so many layers energetic layers within your field, that just because you healed a piece of it, it doesn't mean you've healed it all the way through. that there's you might have healed it from your emotional layer, where it doesn't bring up the emotions of it, but it's sitting like in your mind, or it's sitting in your body, or it already manifested in your body, and now you've got knee pain or whatever it is, and now why is it sitting in the body, right? And now you have to go there, or because that always happens. Like, I thought I healed this. It's like, no, you healed it maybe from one layer.
Like, I thought because I manifested my soulmate and everything that I wanted in a partner that I didn't believe that I was worthy of for so long, I thought I healed everything around love. But there's other things that I have to heal around love, and that could be self-love, that could be familial love, that could be my friendships. But there's other layers of love that my teenage self is am I safe now? Am I really safe now? Is it okay? Am I safe now? So it's I'm not done with healing everything that there is around love. I healed one layer.
You healed your worthiness.
My worthiness layer. Yeah. And now I'm working on being girl, you're safe.
Yeah. Now we're safe.
We're safe now.
Right? So, and it's you don't think of it like that. It's just well, I called him, in your example, well, I called in my husband, I'm good. Well,
I'm healed now. It's no.
No, but you still got other things.
You got other things, girl.
They're still there.
You thought it ended?
Yeah.
No.
No.
We're not done.
Yeah. And it's not a bad thing. See, we're laughing about it. It's not a bad thing. No. It's just okay, where are we going next?
Yeah.
Okay, where are we going next? Yeah. And that's the beauty of the healing journey.
And then, you also know, as someone who does, guide and hold space for others, that, what you're going through is going to be able to help somebody else out someday. Because, like I said before, you're calling in those soulmate clients who are past versions of you. So just know that, everything that you're going through, it's all for the greater good. Either, first of all, you're serving yourself, but you serve others. Maybe you serve your future children, future generations, your breaking cycles. So everything is happening exactly the way that it's supposed to.
So, Gabby, what would be a telltale sign that you are in need of a Reiki healing?
Oh, telltale sign.
So if you're not picking up on the draw, that magnetic draw, I need to do this, I need to do this. What could be happening? And there's probably a million things, but just off the top of your head, what's a telltale sign that you're you know what, maybe you need a healing?
Your attitude, honestly.
Ooh,
your attitude.
So
that was always a telltale sign for me, when I'm oh shoot, I need to go back for a Reiki healing. I notice changes of in my mood, in my attitude. Because I feel by nature I'm a very optimistic person, and if at any point I was kind of ugh, why did that have to happen the way that it happened? I knew something was out of balance, in my body, maybe probably my crown chakra, and I'm having difficulty surrendering. So usually my attitude and my outlook on things, if I notice and you gotta be really in tune with yourself. So if anything that would come up for me, if any feelings of jealousy were coming up for me, I'd be ooh, okay, I'm not me. I'm not acting from a place of my higher self. I need to go for a Reiki healing.
So kind of really sitting in a victim mindset.
Yes,
so
that victim mindset.
If you're really suffering with getting out of a victim mindset, or notice that you are this, usually positive person, and you find yourself sitting in or spiraling, sitting in lower vibration frequencies of anger a lot. Not to say that these are bad things, but if you find yourself consistently operating
hovering there, you can't get out.
Yes. Then anger, sadness, anxiety, lots of frustrations, jealousy, anything that you're sitting in and sitting in and sitting in, good indication that there's probably something that needs out.
Yes.
It needs to work its way through.
Absolutely. Or I would say going through any type of traumatic experience too, if you're processing grief, if you've been through a breakup, going to Reiki is going to help your body process those emotions, because sometimes we're just kind of we're sitting in that grief and we don't know what to do with it, and it's we're supposed to feel it, but going to a Reiki healing is going to allow you to be okay, this is coming up for me because of X, Y, and Z, and it's going to feel good when I do A, B, C.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that. I wholeheartedly agree, because even like someone will like be going through something and they're like, I think I'm gonna get a spinal, and I'm like, not yet.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Reiki, it holds you a little bit more, and I think that spinal is a little bit more confronting, and you're not ready for that when you're going through something in the moment or just getting through something. It's like you gotta let it settle where you're not in a place. Not that you can't be in a place of this, but I feel like where you're not in a place of like you're very, what's the word I'm looking for? Fragile. Okay, yes. Where you're in like a fragile state. Yeah. That's when you need Reiki, because Reiki is it's going to hold you in a really beautiful place, and it's not gonna confront. Yes, it can confront.
It can.
But not in a harsh, not in a way that's like
it can bring, because like we're working with like the root chakra, like you do like, not that spinal doesn't, but like in the way that we work with Reiki, like we don't let you leave the room until you're grounded.
Yeah.
So you do feel like more of that safety and security and that feeling of being held when you go to Reiki.
Yeah. 100%. So I really wholeheartedly agree with you with that. Like I think it's something that if you are going through something, book a session. Like just book a Reiki session and allow yourself to be held in it, and allow yourself to release in whatever way that is. Maybe it's laughing, maybe you need to laugh, maybe you need to cry, but
maybe you need to shout. I love to shout.
Yeah. Hey!
You make me want to shout.
All right, and then maybe one or two telltale signs of when you're being called to be a Reiki healer, or you need Reiki in your life in that way, facilitator.
When you need to be a facilitator, like I said, that feeling before of like something bigger than your own body, like the anxiety was like a telltale sign for me. So if anything like that, or I would say like if you know you're intuitive, but you feel really blocked in your intuition and you're not really sure where to go next, let Reiki crack you open.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Awesome. So tell everybody how they can follow along, how they can know when you're doing all things Reiki so that they can join.
Okay, well, make sure you're signed up for our Spirit and Soul email. So every time that we know we're going to do a Reiki level 1, 2, or master attunement, that gets sent out in an email. Check our class schedule. That's so funny. Like the people that regularly check will like put Reiki level 1 up, and then all of a sudden it's like the next day someone signs up. Yeah. Like, oh, so-and-so was good. They kept checking the schedule. So check our schedule on spiritandsoulstudio.com. I post a lot in my Instagram story. So I'm on Instagram at Well Within My Soul. You can find me there. You can also search Gabby Bryson, Reiki Master Teacher, and I come up on Instagram that way.
And Spirit and Soul.
Spirit and Soul. So we post about, all our attunements on there. And I am also, I work full-time as a speech pathologist. That's a little fun fact. But I'm not really here throughout the week unless I'm teaching a class in the evening. But if you do want to book a Reiki healing with me, I do have select Saturdays throughout the month. And if ever you see something on the schedule that doesn't work for you, please just reach out to me via, the Spirit and Soul website, Instagram, and I mean, we have this space in the Skyloft where we do have flexibility, and I can make something work for you if one of my select Saturdays doesn't work out for you.
Awesome. Gabby, thank you so much for this enlightening discussion.
This was my favorite episode that we've done together.
Me too. So good. Me too. Maybe because we're doing this talk show.
It's got to be the chairs.
I think it's the chairs. I think we think we're on Oprah.
I was just gonna say, Oprah. I love it.
If you're just listening to the podcast, if you could imagine, and you could go on YouTube and take a quick peek, but we've got a little talk show set
We've
up
got
happening.
These little luxurious pink chairs. I drink my water like I'm on a talk show.
We're all about this new setup right now. Maybe we're manifesting a talk show. Maybe that'll be the next episode.
No, we're manifesting the Bravo TV show of Spirit and Soul. I want the Vanderpump Rules intro. That's what I want.
Oh my God.
I'm ready for it.
We're manifesting it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast. Make sure that you are following Gabby, that you are reaching out, and that you're making time and space for for you to listen to you and
Mhm.
what your callings are. So
Yes.
allow yourself that time and space to see whether you need to receive a healing and you can book with Gabby, or you need to, really get attuned and start practicing Reiki, whether it's for yourself or you're feeling the call to hold space for others. Whatever it might be, give yourself that time and space to listen. Reach out to us. We can put you on a wait list as well. But like Gabby said, keep checking the schedule. We would love to have you in for a healing or to get Reiki attuned. And thank you again, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.